This EFL Cup Round 4 picks edition of the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Sign up with our promo code PLGP to get a 50% deposit bonus up to $1,000. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Start crushing college football and the NFL with Rhythm. Get your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Welcome, everybody, to the Premier League Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. My name is Malcolm Bamford, coming to you from Newcastle upon Tyne in the northeast of England. Today is Tuesday, October the 29th. I am here to have a kind of a sniff around the Premier League weekend, but only briefly. We're going to talk about one of the big stories in the news. And we're going to have a look at the EFL Cup games for Wednesday. The 6 EFL Cup games Wednesday night. So as tricky as it is, we're going to have a look around some of those games. It is a solo special today. I'm quite pleased about this because this is episode 222. Barry's done all 222 of them, but I missed one. I can't remember what happened back in the day, but I missed one. I think I had cat AIDS or something. That means Barry was always one up on me. But today we're levelling it out. So we're both going to be one short of the maximum. Just for a couple of reasons. We normally do the show on a Monday. I had a job last night. I mean, who gets married on a Monday? It was a Monday wedding at the Black Horse in Beamish. So I couldn't work. Barry's still in that Egypt. And I think he fears the wrath of his missus, which makes sense. He doesn't want to be disappearing at family meal time on holiday to come and talk about Preston North End with me. So between us, we just couldn't get a time that matches. And also the clocks went back here, which they didn't do in America. And this week confuses the hell out with me every single week. I always get the wrong time for everything. The wrong start times for the NFL, for the football, for the baseball, the wrong start times for podcasts and meetings. So all in all, it wasn't an ideal situation. So Barry did say he might text me some pics, but he hasn't because he's born idle. So there you go. That's the plan. Some people have managed to join us, though. Michael, it was just in the MLB World Series stream, which we did about 20 minutes ago, was here. Serial was first in, announcing Squirty Cream. Harry, Chelsea, how we doing? Michael Roberts, Callum's here as well. I have caught everyone off guard, yeah. The actual time today I've changed about 7 times as well. So it is our fault. I'm not holding anyone else responsible, but so I think first thing worth mentioning is that Eric Ten Haag got the 9-10 jack. It was almost inevitable. And in hindsight, Barry's been taking a lap of honour, and correctly so, because Barry gave out Ten Hag to be the first manager to leave 14-1. Now, that's a big old price, 14-1. But you think about it now, and I mean, I've backed 14-1 shots up and down the years. There's much worse 14-1 shots than that. It just seems like obvious. Serial's pointing out that they gave him the extension in the off-season, the 1-year extension. And actually, Barry made a really simple handicap. He clipped it and put it out yesterday. The handicap was, they're rubbish. Since he got there, they've been rubbish. They've shown no improvement. They're actively looking around for people to take over, even though they give him the extension. He said the extension is meaningless. It's worthless. Anyone with half an eye knew there was no chance that what they were going to do, they weren't going to improve. I mean, I made the comparison with Steve Bruce, and that you could just see the players, every single player, and they've got some good players, getting progressively worse. There was the disconnect with the transfer policy, which I just didn't understand, because they spend all this money on the directors of football, yet somehow just signed all old Ajax players. Well, which one is it? Who's in charge here? And the final thing was, he was so dreary and bleak. It was just unbelievable. You never believed a word he was saying. Like, just come in and lie. Tell us you're going to win 6-0, take the handbrake off. I couldn't give a shit. lie about it. It was just unavoidable. The fact that Sky yesterday said he turned up on Monday not expecting to get sacked because they made quite a few chances in the first half against West Ham. That's not really what it was about, Eric. It wasn't about how many chances you made in the first half. It's about the 3 years of abject shite you've been peddling. So 14-1, hats off to Barry. In terms of a replacement, wheels are moving pretty quickly on Ruben Amorim, the Sporting Lisbon manager. Honestly, don't know an awful lot about him. Might know a little bit more by Thursday when we come to do the pick show. Sporting Lisbon have been quite good to watch. They're powerful, they're direct, they're energetic. They've got lots of good things going forward. They've 100% got an identity, which is something that Man United have been lacking. Yeah, it was just unavoidable. I mean, man, they had that little 6-month spell. It wasn't even 6 months, 2 or 3 months, where things went well for Man United, which included when they beat Newcastle in the cup final, which is incredibly frustrating. Everything Rashford hit was going in. And then somehow they won the FA Cup final, which was just absolutely a baffling result. If you bear in mind the semi-final, they threw away that 3-goal lead against Coventry City and then did concede a 4th goal, which by a toenail was ruled out. That, compared to beating Man City in the final, was just baffling. So, yeah, Ten Haag, it was absolutely unavoidable. We'll have a little look around the Premier League weekend of fixtures. It's just finished. We will do a little bit more of that, I'm sure, on Thursday night when we get Barry back from Egypt. Underdog Pick'em has got one of the biggest menus for all sports: NFL, college, MLB, MMA, NBA, NASCAR. Boostober is upon us, means you're getting a spooky amount of profit boosts and much more. Our code is PLGP. That'll get you a special pick and a first-time deposit offer up to $1,000 in bonus cash. UnderdogFantasy.com, promo code is PLGP. Harry's asking about Rodri winning the Ballon d'Or. I think a couple of months ago, I was after the Champions League final when we were taking the piss out of Rio Ferdinand. He might have gone on the tip list for this thing when he just kept shouting, Ballon d'Or, Ballon d'Or, Ballon d'Or, Ballon d'Or. That is my Rio Ferdinand impression. I didn't even know I could do that. Man of 1,000 voices. I've got no thoughts. Harry, at the time, me and Barry said, if you ever talk to anyone about the Ballon d'Or, I just don't care. I couldn't give a monkeys. Some people in the chat might have a talk amongst yourselves. No opinions whatsoever. I did enjoy Madrid just having an absolute paddy about it. Just grow up, no one cares. Really a bit silly. So that's my thoughts on that. The weekend picks weren't great. A few winners, a few losers. I want to go through and have a proper look at the outcomes of the games. Because what happened was everything changed, 5 games, injury time goals? And it changed the outcomes of a lot of stuff. And now I can't tell if picks were good, bad, or indifferent because the outcome didn't necessarily match how the game had gone. Villa is a great example. Everyone fell into the Villa trap. And Villa, really with a better team, made more than enough chances. 96 minutes stung. Brighton, 100% the same. The outcome changes twice, really. I had Brighton on the handicap. So I lost that with the first goal. Then possibly could have won it with a 4-on-1 break, and it then goes to 2. Everton with the injury time goal. The couple of games that were really hard to analyse in terms of outcome. Tottenham made me laugh because my handicap of Tottenham was you can't rely on them to win, but you can rely on them to score goals. I mean, it's like I've never followed Tottenham Hotspur before. You can't rely on them to score goals. You can't rely on them to do anything. In Manchester City, I thought was just about impossible to pick a winner unless you picked Manchester City to win to 0, or Man City half-time, full-time. They would be the only 2 bets that you accidentally fell into. Man City handicap, Man City goals. And I hit, me and Barry hit the props on, the stats props on both of those games. So I was kind of thinking that might be the way forward. Man City under on the shots. Finished on 22. We said 22 was the ceiling. The line was 25.5. And then Barry hit the corners in Tottenham. So these games that are really hard to pick a side, pick a total, it's the stats props that kind of hit. So that's what I want to have a little look at more than anything before we get into the next round of Premier League games. Listener streaks wise, Kev Matthews went on Friday and Saturday. Kev Matthews needs no introduction as the man who introduced the story of the kid leaving his glasses on the table in the pub. All-time classic there. Kev hit Friday night and then missed on Saturday. So streak of one, avoiding the Jurgen Klopp lounge. Live at the minute is Andy Williams. Andy Williams gave us, Andy went berserk on Sunday. His first pick was the draw in Liverpool-Arsenal with both teams to score over 2.5. Anyway, it was a 3-1 parlay. It was ridiculous. So Andy's first week was 3-1, which I thought was unsustainable. And I think he's come round to the same way of thinking. We gave Andy Monday night off because there was nothing to pick. And he's come back tonight with a League One pick. Now, Andy's our Wrexham fan. If you ever join us live, you'll know Andy gets in talking about Wrexham a lot. So he's gone for a League One pick tonight, which is Lincoln City and Northampton Town, over 2.5 goals, is 9-10, minus 111. So he's already avoided the lounge, but he's trying to get his streak to 2. We'll see how that goes. Right, okay. 6 EFL Cup games for Wednesday. I'm ignoring the Tuesday games because I didn't think I was going to do this show today, but here we are. Wednesday, October the 30th. We're going to start with 7:30 kickoff. Now, time, is it 2:30? It might be 3:30 Eastern time because they haven't moved that hour. Might be 1:30 because they might have gone the other way. Nobody knows. It's impossible. Brighton and Hove Albion taking on Liverpool. Brighton 12-5 plus 240. The draw 13-5 plus 260. Liverpool are 11-10 plus 110. There's 2 games in these 6 where the 2 teams who were playing in the Cup play each other in the league on at the weekend. And this is one of them. Brighton take on Liverpool on Saturday. Brighton beat Wolves 3-2 in the last round. Obviously drew 2-2 with them on Saturday. They made 4 or 5 changes. They've got a big squad. I've talked about this a lot. Brighton seem to be able to cope with it. They kind of left out Welbeck. They left out Dunk last time. But I don't think it's going to be a huge problem. Liverpool hammered West Ham 5-1 in the last round. They made tons of changes. It was kind of the back end in the middle of the pitch where they made tons of changes. Up front, they still started Núñez, Gakpo and Jota. This looks really tight. And I think Brighton are a big price because the changes that are going to be made here will really even up the tie. I think Liverpool are just going to drop their level enough to bring them kind of in line with where Brighton are going to be. I quite like Brighton to qualify. It's 6-5 plus 120. Bear in mind, this goes straight to penalties. There's no extra time. But it does look like a wide open game. Both teams are coming off 2-2 draws at the weekend. Both teams had a Desmond. The both teams to score and over 2.5 is 4-5 minus 125. So that would be my play for Brighton v Liverpool. League Cup, by the way. As always, we always caveat it with buyer beware. Like the lineups, get to the lineups, get the team news at 6:30, 6:45, 7 o'clock. Get the team news because there's teams we're going to come to in a little while. Villa, Leicester, who threw out shadow teams like in the last round, and it's really it's hard to say what's going to happen. So by all means, hold fire till you see those lineups. The next game, loads of staggered times here. Tomorrow we've got 1, 2, 3 different kickoff times. The 7:45 kickoff between Aston Villa and Crystal Palace. Aston Villa 9-10 minus 111. The draw 5-2 plus 250. Palace are 31-10 plus 310. Aston Villa 9-10 at home to a bottom half team. Does it sound familiar? This is exactly the trap we fell into on Saturday. Although Villa did absolutely everything in their power to win that game and conceded a 96-minute equaliser. I played Villa on the money line. Baz played Villa on the money line. Matthew's pick was Villa on the money line. It was in a load of accumulators. And I think it was the right side. It was another one of those where average look, And I think Villa would have won that. In the last round of this competition, Villa won 2-1 at Wickham. Villa made all of the changes that day. They changed absolutely everybody. Duran played up front, but that was at the time when Duran wasn't getting a look in particularly. He was very much the 20-minute off the bench, so it was his turn to start that day. But it really was a shadow team. And Villa kind of got away with it a little bit that night. They go to Spurs on Sunday as well. So quite a big game, a bit of a look-ahead spot for Villa. I think they'll make a ton of changes again. Crystal Palace beat Tottenham at the weekend. Needed that, very much needed that shot in the arm. They beat QPR away in the last round. They go to Wolves at the weekend. But Palace put out a very strong side in the last game, pretty much first choice. In fact, you wouldn't have been able to notice much difference. And I think they'd want to keep that momentum going. I think Palace are alive here. I think a much weakened Villa team against Palace, we're going to have a real go at this. Palace to win a 31-10, plus 310. And Palace to qualify a 13-8. That is plus 167. So yeah, I think Palace alive in this one. Lee joined us. Lee, how you doing? Lee has been caught out by the time. You're not the only one, Lee. I've caught myself out, frankly. So if I didn't know what I was doing, you've got absolutely no chance. 9 o'clock where James is in Toronto. How are you doing? Michael is very much enjoying Aston Villa this year. Yeah, they've been relatively easy to predict as well. Saturday was just unlucky. It happens, but they're not in the Tottenham mould or any team like that. Villa, you kind of know what you're going to get out of Aston Villa. The draw at Ipswich was the one game that sort of dropped off just a little bit for them. Where are we going? Manchester United take on Leicester City, 7:45 on Wednesday. Manchester United are 9-25, minus 277. The draw 15-4, plus 375. Leicester City are 7-1. Fuck knows is the short answer when you ask the question, what do we expect out of Man United? Are we getting a new manager bounce? Is that a thing? It's going to be Ruud van Nistelrooy in interim charge, unless they get Amorim over the line between now. They've got about 27 hours to get that done. They beat Barnsley 7-0 in the last round. They did make plenty of changes. They rolled out a midfield of Eriksson, Ugarte, Casemiro and Collier in that game. Anthony played. Ugarte, just looking at that name there on my notes, what was all that about on Sunday? He's the biggest signing of the season, of the off-season. They go away to West Ham, and he's starting Eriksson and Casemiro. And Ugarte sits there and doesn't get on. Like, there's something so wrong at that club. Leicester City won at Walsall on penalties after a 0-0 draw. They've got a very big game at the weekend, actually. A look-ahead spot away Ipswich Town. They'll very much be looking to put some distance between them and Ipswich on Saturday. This is really, really hard to pick because Man U was skinny. I don't really fancy Leicester. Leicester had a bad result on Friday night. However, I still don't know how Man U were going to keep a clean sheet. Even if Ten Haag was in place, even if the new manager was in place, they're still going to be rolling out that more than rope me back four. And Leicester scored, I think they've scored in every game. I've just mentioned they drew 0-0 in the last round at Walsall. But Leicester have been decent for a goal. Fatawu, who's been on the bench, he'll get involved. Both teams to score here is 4-5, minus 125. Fatawu and Buonanotte actually both started in the last round. So Leicester will have a little go here. And I think they can get on the score sheet. So both teams to score 4-5, minus 125. Where are we going? Oh, what's James telling me in the chat? James has moved to Vancouver. So even earlier time zone. 4 a.m. kickoffs on a Saturday. Oh, well. Where are we going? Oh, okay. 7:45. Wednesday is a game I'm going to be at. It's actually Bob's birthday tomorrow. That's just reminded me. Bob is 13 tomorrow. I've got a teenage son tomorrow. Basically a bloke. I'll share my house with a bloke. Surly, deep voice, little Barry McGuigan moustache. Teenager reference there. Newcastle are 8-5, plus 160. The draw 12-5 plus 240. Chelsea 8-5 plus 160. It is a match on the books. The books can't split them. Obviously, these two teams played each other at the weekend. Newcastle beat Wimbledon 1-0 in the last round. Fabian Schär penalty was rubbish. The game was against Wimbledon, but we got there. Newcastle have Arsenal coming up on Saturday, which is a big old look ahead spot. I think I can be fairly confident on the Newcastle team. I said that in terms of the EFL Cup, we're making a load of changes, and I don't know what to expect. Newcastle only have a certain amount of changes that they can make, and it's going to be the 4 or 5 first-team players, potential first-team players who haven't been starting at the minute. So it's Sean Longstaff, it is Joe Willock, it is Emil Kraft, and that's about it, really. So that's what Newcastle are going to do. And I do think that Eddie Howe is feeling this just a little bit. We got the draw at Manchester City, but I haven't backed it up with any wins. The draw at Everton would have been okay had they not then gone and lost to Brighton. I don't think they did too much wrong against Chelsea, but fell on the right side of it. So Eddie Howe has to go and do something in this spot. So he's not going to make too many changes. He's not in a position where he can kind of punt this game. And that includes playing Alexander Isak. I think Alexander Isak has to play for a couple of reasons. We've got no other options, and Eddie Howe needs to win. Chelsea smashed Barrow up 5-0 in the last round. If you remember, we tipped Barrow 40-1. They made all the changes, but still, it allows them to put out a ridiculous team. They've still got 9 40 million quid players. Bob's just turned up in the background there. Bob, what are you doing? So they're really hard to analyse. The league game on Sunday actually seems like a decent comparison game in this spot. Chelsea were okay. The big moments went their way. Newcastle performed well, and I still think they've been playing okay. I don't know why this game's going to be any different to Sunday. Both teams to score over 2.5 goals. 6-7, minus 116. Someone's going to nick it 2-1. Let's hope it's Newcastle. But yeah, it could well be Chelsea. So both teams to score over 2.5 goals. 6-7, minus 116. The penultimate game is a 7:45 kickoff. It is Preston North End who are taking on Arsenal. Preston are 8-1. Line movement report. Preston were 9-1 when I looked at this yesterday. The draw is 11-2, plus 550. Arsenal 2-9, minus 450. Preston beat Fulham on penalties, so they've got one Premiership scalp to their name in the last round. They did blob a 3-0 lead against old corn beefhead Wayne Rooney's Plymouth on Saturday. They're 16th in the Championship. Only one defeat in the last day, so they're hard to beat. They've drawn 5 of those games. The home form's all right. Arsenal beat Bolton 5-1 in the last round. Made an absolute ton of changes. Still allows them to start Jorginho, Gabriel Jesus. Saka started in the last game. Sterling there. Arsenal we're going to have enough. This is a tricky one. You're talking a 2-9, minus 450 favourites here. Lee, fairly unbiased, I think. Lee, the Burnley fan, commenting on Preston. He's gone for Arsenal 8-0 with a man sent off. Preston are shite. Is the top level analysis we're getting off. Like, Arsenal should have enough here. I completely agree. Arsenal to score in both halves. It's that old chestnut. Didn't actually cash at the weekend for Man City, did it? 4-5. Arsenal to score in both halves. Minus 125. One game left here. I have forgotten to do the ad reads because I'm all by myself and a bit nervous. Rhythm is SGN's proud partner, the #1 AI-powered sports betting platform. Helps you with your money line spreads, totals and props. You can build your own model. You can copy one of the top performing models off the leaderboard. All the insights you could possibly wish for there. Claim your 7-day free trial by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. And BetUS, the best in the business. BetUS has been around for more than 30 years. You can easily deposit using crypto and get lightning fast payouts. What's going on? Trick or treat on Horror Street. That's what's going on for Halloween. BetUS are offering daily promotions. Every $200 deposit gets you an entry into that raffle on October the 31st. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS with the promo code SGPN. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/BetUS, promo code SGPN. Final game, Tottenham Hotspur taking on Manchester City. Tottenham 17-10 plus 170. The draw is 5-2 plus 250. Man City 13-9 plus 145. Tottenham and Postecoglou, I've got him here kind of in the same boat as Eddie Howe, is that defeat on Sunday ramped the pressure up on him and doesn't leave him much course of action here other than to go and try and win this game. There was a lot of disgruntled Tottenham fans floating around the socials at the weekend, hanging out his record, the amount of defeats he's had. And there's no question that was a bad result. And Tottenham's constant, what the word I'm looking for, you just can't trust them, like just unreliability is a real problem. You've got to be able to do something about that. This cup represents probably Tottenham's best chance of winning something as well. They've got a home game against Villa on Sunday. Who did they beat in the last round with this? I can't remember. I haven't written it down. Manchester City touched off Watford 2-1, quite a close game. The changes they made, they've still got plenty. If you look at the players who aren't starting at the moment, who started in that cup game against Watford, Jeremy Doku started up front, Foden started, Grealish started, Nunes started, who's just started getting a couple of games. Rico Lewis, John Stones, Kyle Walker, all started in that last game. Stefan Ortega, who's probably the best backup goalkeeper in the Premier League. I know Kelleher's doing a job at Liverpool. I can't pass up the chance to take Man City here, around about 6-4. It looks like a fairly even game. Tottenham slightly weakened, 2 or 3 changes. Manchester City slightly weakened, 2 or 3 changes. I don't see why you wouldn't take City. This could be one of those occasions where the next morning you think, in hindsight, it was obvious. I think you're getting by far the better team. And we know Tottenham, regardless of the situation, are absolutely completely unreliable. Even if it was Tottenham full tilt against Manchester City's reserves, do you trust him? And I might be talking through my pocket because they absolutely chinned me on Sunday for the umpteenth time. But I think you have to take City here at the prices. 13-9 plus 145 for Manchester City. Very rare you get City at that price. So I'm going to have a go. And I think that's everything I've got to talk about. Smashed out a solid half an hour there. Lee agrees. He's saying Ange's starting to look a little bit lost. You can tell Ange is annoyed by certain stuff that happens at the club, stuff that he feels like is out of his control. And he looks a little bit befuddled by all of that. Right, I'm done. Thanks, everyone, for putting up with that. Very, very rare solo show. Lee, Michael, James was here. Ian was in. Who else? Serial early on. Callum and Michael Roberts as well. So I don't know when Baz is back. You probably know better than me. Might be back in the country Thursday. So the Prem show will be as scheduled Thursday night, I reckon, probably at 10 o'clock. Good luck with all of these games, Harry. I hope Newcastle smash the granny out at Chelsea tomorrow. If you're having a bet, good luck. And we will see you all down the road. Cheers.